Hello, everyone. Today I will be talking to you about social stories and how social stories can be used as a therapeutic method to help children under the autism spectrum that have difficulties with social pragmatic skills. To start, I think it is important to mention that Carol Gray was the first person to introduce the concept of social stories in 1991, and she described social stories as an individualized short story that is used to model an appropriate social interaction, behavior, or skill by describing a relevant social context to the one the child is struggling with. The story breaks down the challenging social situations by providing the student with other people's perspectives and an appropriate response to the situation. The goal of the story is to improve the child's understanding of the social situation, which may lead to a change in behavior and decision making in future events similar to the story. Each story is designed to teach children with autism how to manage their own behavior during a given social situation. By describing where the activity will take place, when will it occur, what will happen, who is participating, and why the child should behave in a given manner. Something to keep in mind when creating social stories is that social stories should be descriptive, meaningful, and should be kept positive to focus on the benefits of doing the right thing. To be truly effective, the social story should build on questions to test if the story is sending the intended message. Social stories can take place in the form of a book, a comic strip, or even a video. A compelling feature about social stories is that they can be created to address a wide variety of situations that can range from navigating a social encounter, anger management, or even how to deal with personal hygiene. It is the flexibility of these stories and their ability to promote decision-making skills that make them an excellent tool when working with children with ASD. I think it is also important to note that this approach can be preferred by a lot of children with ASD because it will take advantage of the fact that a lot of these kids are very visual and you can use pictures to present the story to them. Or some of these children might even have hyperlexia and allows them to be able to read these stories on their own at a very young age. Now, I will help you to identify the 7 key components when writing a social story. Social stories have to have 7 types of sentences. These component sentences would be descriptive sentences, directive sentences, perspective sentences, affirmative sentences, cooperative sentences, control sentences, and partial sentences. I know, it's a lot of sentences to keep in mind. But as long as a social story has at least descriptive sentences, directive sentences, and perspective sentences, you can make a social story work. It just depends on your client and the situation that you're trying to address. Now, I am going to further explain those type of sentences so you know what exactly those sentences are supposed to address. Descriptive sentences are the who, what, where, and why, and the details are emphasized to make it easier for the child to relate as to when the situation actually happens. Directive sentences is where you include the instructions as to how your child should appropriately respond to a specific situation. Perspective sentences. This is where you should describe one of your child's possible responses or feelings to a given situation. Affirmative sentences are the ones that state a common value or opinion. Here, you can emphasize the important points by referring to a law or a rule the learner should understand. Cooperative sentences describe the actions or possible help of the people around your child based on his or her response to the situation. Control sentences are the actions or responses created by your child to aid in remembering the strategies that work for him or her. Finally, we have partial sentences, and these sentences should encourage your child to make a guess about the next step in the given situation. This is usually represented by a blank in the story. Now, I will read to you an example of a social story highlighting the type of sentences that are being used. This story is called When We Go to the Shoe Store. Okay, so when we go to the shoe store, there will be many shoes to choose from. I might not know which shoes I like. That is okay with everyone. I can hold onto my string while I decide. When I decide about the shoes, I will tell the grown-up. The grown-up will go to get the shoes for me. To finalize this presentation on social stories, do keep in mind that social stories should be written in the present tense, in the first person point of view, or the child's point of view. You have to take into account your child's vocabulary and level of comprehension. If the child cannot read yet, make use of pictures in telling the story. Initially, read the story with your child and make sure your child comprehends. You can do this by making a checklist or doing a role play with your child regarding the story. As the child familiarizes with the story, their need of reading it with her or him may lessen and will eventually lead to your child remembering the story without even reading it and hopefully being able to change and improve their social and pragmatic skills.